Rose Festival 83, a Diamond Jubilee. A look at the events that make up Portland's Rose Festival. Here are your hosts, Ron Carlson and Mary Sterrett.
Good morning to you and welcome.
This is the Rose Festival's Diamond Jubilee. If you haven't been able to catch every single event during this week's exciting schedule. The Pope's visit to Poland is coming to a close, and what a close it is. He has flown to a mountainous region outside Krakow and is presumed to be meeting with Lech Wałęsa. Good morning to you, all of you on the West Coast. We are keeping you up to date both on the Pope's visit and on the space shuttle this morning. It's Thursday, June the 23rd.
We're going to have the latest on the space shuttle. David Dow will give us where and when it's going to come down. And is there too much hysteria about dioxin? The AMA wants to clear the air about the chemical. It points out there are no deaths known to have been caused by dioxin. But we still don't know how its long-term effects are going to affect us. We'll talk to the doctor who spearheaded the AMA action. And also coming up, secret U.S. military bases around the world. A report from the Pentagon this morning. And are there too many doctors? Our 8 o'clock half hour. And Rod Serling's wife, consultant on the movie The Twilight Zone, along with some giant marionettes invading. First, we'll get the news. Diane.
Pope John Paul flew to a remote mountain resort today where he is presumably meeting with Lech Wałęsa. He arrived there 60 miles south of Krakow. Bruce Morton tells us about the Pope's final meeting with the masses and today's meeting with Wałęsa.
People had waited for the Pope for hours. It was his last day and their last chance to see him. And when they did, they cheered and chanted and sang. Long live the Pope, of course, and sometimes come again. Some people in the crowd cried. These are hard times for Poland. Would he come again? Would things get better? Another big crowd waited at the helipad where the Pope lifted off for a valley in the Tafra Mountains, 60 miles south of here, near the resort town of Zakopane. As he left, a Vatican spokesman told reporters the Pope had not yet met with Lech Wałęsa. That may happen in the mountains or this evening when the Pope returns here.
And reporters are still puzzling over just what the Pope and Polish Chief of State General Wojciech Jaruzelski talked about when they met last night. The official communique said murkily, hope was expressed the visit would contribute to the peaceful and favorable development of social life in Poland, which can mean just about anything, but probably means that whatever disagreements exist between the two men are still there.
And everyone here, once the cheering stops, will have to think about the hard questions. The Pope's visit has not changed Poland's basic problems: a population which despises the government bureaucracy, a crumbling economy, a forced alliance with the Soviet Union. The Pope offered light and hope. The problems remain. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Krakow.
And we're all eager to hear this morning the latest from Houston on the Space Shuttle Challenger. Will it land tomorrow? Will it land Saturday? Where will it land? Let's see what David Dow knows. He's at the Johnson Space Center there. David?
Good morning, Diane. Within the half hour, we're expected to know whether the Space Shuttle Challenger will indeed land at Florida's Kennedy Space Center tomorrow morning as scheduled. Weather there has been the issue. This morning, an Air Force forecaster said that the weather tomorrow morning would be acceptable for a landing. However, General James Abrahamson, the head of the shuttle program, cast some doubt on that when he told a group of reporters that the landing would probably be delayed until Saturday, and then, depending on weather, would take place either at the Kennedy Space Center or at Edwards Air Force Base in California. No formal announcement has been made, though, and the crew is stowing its gear as though tomorrow's landing will take place as scheduled. If so, it would be the first time that a shuttle has touched down at the new concrete runway built especially to service future shuttle missions. Diane?
Thank you, David. We'll check back with you shortly. Honduras is officially protesting to Nicaragua about the killing of Dial Torgerson and Richard Cross. The two American journalists were killed driving along the border on Tuesday night. Nicaragua charges this all part of a CIA scheme to create a pretext for more aggression against the Sandinistas. Richard Wagner has more from Honduras.
The bodies of Torgerson and Cross were flown to Tegucigalpa by the Honduran military. The 55-year-old Torgerson was a veteran Los Angeles Times correspondent. Cross, 31, was a freelance photographer working for U.S. News and World Report. An eyewitness said their car was hit by a grenade and machine gun fire along the Honduran-Nicaraguan border 75 miles east of the Honduran capital, Tegucigalpa. The men had been covering cross-border incidents between Nicaraguan troops and anti-Sandinista forces based in Honduras. It was extremely hazardous work. For several days, Nicaraguan troops had been firing across the border at anything that moved along the road.
Against pedestrians, against buses, against persons driving in vehicles. It's become a very dangerous area.
The commander of the Honduran armed forces called the killing of Torgerson and Cross, who were driving a vehicle clearly marked press, an act of criminal aggression. Dial Torgerson and Richard Cross are dead, but the story they were covering is far from over. There are people here who fear war could break out between Honduras and Nicaragua before the summer is over. Richard Wagner, CBS News, Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
A bomb set to explode within minutes was found ticking in the luggage of two teenage hijackers who surrendered in Cyprus today. The hijackers had pirated a plane flying to Libya from Greece and unsuccessfully tried to land in Lebanon with 32 hostages aboard. The plane, low on fuel, was then allowed to touch down in Cyprus, and hours after the young Lebanese sky pirates were taken into custody, airport security found the explosive. The two are thought to be part of a militant Muslim group protesting the disappearance of their leader. As we heard, the Pope may now be meeting with Lech Wałęsa in a remote mountain retreat south of Krakow. Earlier this morning, we asked Tom Fenton, our chief European correspondent, to tell us what struck him as the most interesting aspect of the Pope's trip.
Well, the most exciting development of the last 24 hours was that unexpected meeting between the Pope and General Jaruzelski. We know very little about it. There's a good deal of speculation, but very few facts. The government put out a communique saying that the hope was expressed that the visit would contribute to peaceful and favorable developments of life in Poland. That's about the most uncommunicative communique that I've ever heard. Now, there's speculation, in fact, that it was not the church that asked for the meeting, as the government said, but that General Jaruzelski asked and flew down, of course, as we know, because he was worried about the way the trip had gone.
What about the meeting with Lech Wałęsa? Is the Polish government going to allow any coverage after the meeting? Going to allow the two men to be seen together?
I think they're going to do everything possible to keep us from seeing Lech Wałęsa before, during, and after the meeting. In fact, the last time we've seen Wałęsa or heard of him is when he took off from Gdansk at a military airport yesterday afternoon. The visit was scheduled for the unofficial part of the papal visit. After all, the official schedule was completed, and it's to be considered a completely private visit. I think, for one thing, by leaving it to the very last, after all the momentous and dramatic developments of the last few days, the government has succeeded in somewhat de-dramatizing the trip. It won't be such a big event after all that we've seen and heard for the past week.
So Wałęsa has said nothing to correspondents about his agenda for the meeting?
No, in fact, we don't even know where Wałęsa is right now. It's possible that they have met already, although the Vatican put out a statement a short while ago assuring reporters that this hadn't taken place. It could happen in Krakow at the Archbishop's residence, where the Pope will presumably return. It could be happening now in the Tatras Mountains, where the Pope is now visiting.
Tom, if it's not too early to ask you for profound conclusions, you are a veteran correspondent in Europe, have observed it for many years. Seeing the passion of the Polish people, seeing what the Pope has wrought there, can you project any consequences of his visit, whether practical or emotional, for the Polish people?
Well, some things we know for sure, that the spirits of the Poles have been raised, that the authority of the church has probably been strengthened, that the position of General Jaruzelski has probably been weakened.
That was Chief European Correspondent Tom Fenton speaking with us earlier this morning. We have more news ahead in this half hour. Stay with us on the CBS Morning News.
The time now, 9 minutes past 7. Coming right up, Steve Deschler with the weather outlook for the shuttle landing.
Who's got the most powerful standard truck engine in the class? Not Toyota, Chevy, S10, or Ford Ranger. It's the new Nissan, with the highest maximum payload over a ton. More headroom? Nissan again. More legroom, too. The highest minimum ground clearance of any truck in its class? Nissan. Right now, get the best choice, the best price, and 8.8% financing on the all-new Nissan truck. Uncover your best deal at your Gold Medal Northwest Datsun dealer.
One heck of a hunk of a truck.
This little Ivy had Knox. This little Ivy had none. That's the amazing difference Knox gelatin makes after only 3 applications. Because Knox has lots of nitrogen, just what houseplants commonly need to flourish. Simply dissolve 1 envelope of Knox into 1 cup hot tap water. Then add 3 cups cold water. Once a month, use the mixture as part of your normal plant watering pattern. Details on Knox packages. Let your plants flourish with Knox unflavored gelatin.
Now 10 minutes past the hour, and on the baseball scoreboard in the National League yesterday, the Reds beat the Giants. New York won 2 games from the Cardinals. The other winners were Montreal, Pittsburgh, Houston, and the San Diego Padres.
A close call yesterday for Billie Jean King, the 10th seed at Wimbledon this year. Billie Jean found herself just 1 game from elimination against 19-year-old American Beth Herr. Now, it would have been a crushing defeat for the 6-time Wimbledon champion. As she has done so many times, Miss King relied on her experience to win in 3 sets and advance to play yet another day. As did Steve Deschler. He's playing with the weather again. What do you have?
Well, Bill, here's a look, first of all, at a sequence of satellite pictures taken between 1 o'clock and 6 a.m. this morning that shows why there's some concern down at the Cape as to the landing of the Space Shuttle Challenger tomorrow morning. Notice the swirl of clouds tailing off the Yucatan, then pushing northeast right toward Florida. The counterclockwise swirl of clouds reflects an upper-level storm that may cause trouble for tomorrow, sweeping moisture across Florida, causing possible showers and thunderstorms, and since it lands from the west, that's all the more cause for worry. So here's the space shuttle tailing into the landing area on the Cape tomorrow morning. And as far as the forecast is concerned, by landing time, 85 degrees or thereabouts, mainly cloudy skies, and a chance of scattered thunderstorms. That's the way the forecast for the landing looks for the shuttle tomorrow morning in the early morning hours. Now, as far as the rest of the country is concerned this morning, here's a plot of National Weather Service radars nationwide that shows the precipitation distribution across the country, mainly light showers across the southeast, a couple of thunder showers off Texas, some scattered thunderstorms in Nebraska, and some light showers, Pacific Northwest. As far as weather to watch today, because of all the moisture in the south and southeast, there will be a slight risk of thunderstorms in the Gulf states and also the Central Plains and Rockies. Amounts could be heavy across the Gulf states again, with rainfall totals 1/2 to 1 inch across there and also western Florida, 1/2 inch to 1 inch in the Central Rockies and also Intermountain states. Now here's a look at some weather and temperature forecasts for some locations around the country.
Weather for Portland, Vancouver. Showers occasionally heavy today. Scattered showers tonight. Showers ending tomorrow morning with afternoon clearing. Highs in the mid-60s today, in the upper 60s tomorrow. Lows at night in the low 50s.
National forecast for the nation in the next half hour.
Thank you, Steve. It's 12.5 minutes past the hour, and when we come back, we'll address what the AMA had to say about dioxin.
The time now, 13 minutes past the hour. In baseball, yesterday's American League winners were the Texas Rangers, Minnesota Twins, New York Yankees, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Indians, Chicago White Sox, and in 12 innings, the Kansas City Royals.
It's Bill O'Linger Lincoln Mercury's 25th anniversary. Thanks, Bill. Time for a giant celebration, sir. We're celebrating with our best selection, best prices, and highest trade-in allowances ever. Choose from our huge inventory of all new Mercury Cougars with all of the right options and colors to make your very own personal car. New Marquis and Marquis station wagons are here now and priced just right for our celebration sale. The Marquis start at just $86.88. They're all serviced and ready for immediate delivery. So tomorrow, come over the hill and see Bill. Bill O'Linger, Lincoln Mercury, 93rd and Canyon Road.
Hello, Dolly. Well, hello,
Celebrity Attractions presents Hello, Dolly, live on stage at the Civic Auditorium, July 6th through the 24th.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Carol Channing.
Wow, 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 fellas. Hey, yo. Look at the old girl now, fellas.
Don't miss Carol Channing in Hello, Dolly. Charge tickets by phone today.
Guess who just beat America's #1 instant coffee for best taste? Right. It's Sunrise. Sunrise beat the leading instant coffee for richer, fresher flavor. Right. Even more surprising, Sunrise is naturally less in caffeine, 26% less. Right. Sunrise, the taste that beat the #1 instant coffee.
Surprise! Surprise yourself with Sunrise.
Surprise yourself with Sunrise. Surprise yourself with Sunrise. 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 Sunrise.
If you have pigmentation brown spots like these,
I hate them.
this is Porcelana Fade Cream.
I used a fade cream for a while, but I stopped using it because I really didn't think it was working. Then my sister told me, Helen, get Porcelana and keep using it. It does work.
Porcelana works gradually, but it does work.
My spots are much less noticeable now. Porcelana does work if you stick with it.
Porcelana, and now Porcelana with sunscreen to help keep the sun from darkening the brown spots Porcelana's trying to lighten.
The time now, 1/4 past the hour.
Has the public been oversold on the dangers of dioxin? The American Medical Association now accuses the news media of hysterical mal-reporting on dioxin, damaging, quote, the lives and well-being of people in dioxin-contaminated areas. The AMA resolution endorses a campaign to get the latest, accurate information on dioxin before the public to prevent, quote, irrational reaction and unjustified fright. Dr. George Bohigan is a sponsor of that resolution. He is an ophthalmologist from St. Louis and a member of the AMA Council on Scientific Affairs. Dr. Bohigan is at WBBM TV in Chicago, where the AMA is now meeting. Good morning, Dr. Bohigan.
Good morning, Bill.
What mal-reporting are you referring to?
Well, I think that the mal-reporting is the news is trying to fix blame on this whole issue. We don't know who's to blame for this. And what we're trying to do is come up with the correct scientific facts so we can give those facts out to physicians to help their patients as well as inform the American public on the potential dangers of dioxin.
Of course, you're from Missouri, and that's where
correct.
Times Beach was, certainly in the headlines, and you're sensitive to that, I know. But the press didn't move the families out of Times Beach. The federal government did. Are you taking issue with their precautions?
Well, I was not privileged to be involved in a decision on the government. That was a political decision.
A political decision, not a medical decision?
No, I think that what they try to do is basically get the medical facts, and then based on that and a number of interest groups is to remove the people from the problem. And this is going to continue to be a problem not only with dioxin, but with other chemical waste throughout the country. And what we need to do is come up with the medical facts and scientifically and rationally approach the problem which is best for the American public. And this is going to be an issue, and we have to come up with a plan what's best all the way around.
If you had a family or friends that were exposed to the toxic chemical dioxin in Times Beach, would you advise them to continue living there?
I think that that's an individual decision. There are people in Times Beach who have lived there for years and felt that it was wrong for them to move at this point. There are people there who are frightened, who wanted to move, and you're uprooting these families, and I think it becomes an individual decision, but it has to be based on the risk factors, and that's what we don't know, and that's what we want to find out, what the long-term effects are. Every day you take a risk. You take a risk in smoking, but here you have the fear of the unknown. You don't know what the risks are, and I think this is a thing that concerns people.
So you're saying that you really don't know if it is not harmful at this time?
Well, there's some harm here. People do get kind of a skin rash. People do get a little decrease in sensation of touch, but there's been no reported deaths. In fact, the AMA back in 1981 produced a report based on scientific fact on what the effects are. All we want to do is update this report to get the best scientific evidence by taking experts in their field and saying, look, here are the facts, and then from there, let the government, the society, and the independent thinking society to come up with a decision.
Well, I'm sure everyone would agree with that, but you and your resolution have focused in on the news media, accusing the media of conducting a witch hunt out of dioxin and indeed hysterical mal-reporting.
Well, I think a witch hunt implies that you're trying to fix blame on one person, and we don't know who the blame is, but the person sitting in front of their TV, they see a reporter standing there and saying, look, government shows that this area is not really a danger, and yet in the background they see men with white spacesuits with the space helmets and picking up dirt with an instrument and putting in a little baggie, and what are they going to be confused? Certainly they're going to be confused, and what we're trying to do is alleviate the fear based on getting the real facts and evidence.
Well, there don't seem to be any real facts to get if we don't know the harmful effect and indeed are all searching for answers. There seems to be enough evidence for the FDA to set minimum standards and the CDC and the EPA to move almost an entire town. And the news media seems to be reacting to that and reporting it.
Well, I think the news media has to get all the facts, and they need to get the facts not only from CDC and EPA, but from scientists, not only in universities, but also from the American Medical Association, because our mission in the American Medical Association really to protect the public health.
Doctor, thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll continue in a moment.
Next, David Martin with a look at some not-so-secret military airfields. 20 minutes past the hour.
If you've ever wanted a new Subaru, now's the time. Think Ichiban. Ichiban means #1, and that's what we plan to be at Immer Oswald Subaru. We plan to sell more great driving, low-priced Subarus than anyone. We're going to do it with terrific low prices, a huge inventory, and this, a $700 Sony video player and recorder. It's yours free with any new Immer Oswald Subaru. Drive the best, save money, and help us be Ichiban. Come to Immer Oswald Subaru in Gladstone.
How to paint your house in 2 days. Blast off old paint with a Landa pressure washer paint stripper. Wash off dirt and oxidation. Then rent an airless coat paint sprayer and paint your house in 6 to 8 hours.
Available at Landa Rents and Foster Rents in Portland, Rada Paint Stores, Portland, Vancouver, and Beaverton, Seacoast Rentals, Newport and Lincoln City, your rental center in Hood River, and A to Z Rentals in Salem, north and south.
The Reagan administration seems to be following Theodore Roosevelt's famous advice to speak softly, carry a big stick. Newly released testimony from Capitol Hill reveals a ring of secret air bases abroad, some already operating, some still to be built. Congressional critics immediately denounced the bases as a unilateral build-up for foreign intervention. CBS News Pentagon correspondent David Martin is with us in Washington this morning to tell us more about the bases and what they're intended to do. David, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Could you start by giving us a quick briefing again on the location of the bases and their intended function?
Well, the most secret one is located in Egypt. It's an abandoned Egyptian airstrip out in the middle of the Egyptian desert, and the U.S. uses it to fly in AWACS early warning radar planes without anyone knowing in the event of a crisis, such as the one which occurred earlier this year when Libya's Muammar Gaddafi was attempting to overthrow the government of the Sudan. In Turkey, there are 2 airfields planned which would put U.S. fighter aircraft within easy combat range of the Soviet Union. In Morocco, there is an old U.S. Air Force bomber base which is being reopened to provide a refueling stop for American aircraft on their way from the United States to the Middle East. Also in Liberia, the United States is financing the expansion of the international airport there, again to provide a refueling stop for aircraft on their way to the Middle East. And in Honduras, the U.S. is spending $13 million to expand an airport to handle a surge of American aircraft in the event that the U.S. has to rush to the defense of Honduras.
Well, let's use Honduras as an example to address some of the critics' charges, namely that, for instance, in Honduras, that's automatically increased U.S. involvement.
Well, I don't think the expansion of that airfield means that there is a secret plan somewhere in the Reagan administration which says as soon as that airfield is completed, we will send in aircraft. What I do think it means is that there are contingency plans to come to the aid of Honduras in the event of, say, a Nicaraguan invasion, and this expansion of this airfield is the underpinning, the plumbing, if you will, for that kind of involvement.
What about provocation?
I think it's designed not to be provocative. All of this was supposed to be secret, and it got out by accident in this congressional testimony. And when you compare this to the process in the 1950s and the 1960s when the U.S. was building military bases around the world with all the commissaries and PXs and medical clinics and schools that go with those kinds of bases, I think this is much less flag-waving than that.
You said got out by accident. What do you mean by accident?
Well, very simply, someone at the Pentagon goofed. The Pentagon is allowed to review testimony that's given in secret on Capitol Hill, to review it before it is released publicly, and to delete material which it considers to be classified In this case, they reviewed it and simply neglected to delete the identifying information which allowed you to find these airfields simply by reading the testimony.
David Martin reporting from the Pentagon and on the Pentagon this morning from Washington. We have a full half hour ahead. Hope you spend the rest of the morning with us. We'll be back shortly.
Good morning, it's 7:25 in the Pacific Northwest. I'm Kirk Matthews reporting from Newsroom 6. We're watching west side traffic at 14th and Alder, I-405, the Stadium Freeway. Traffic picking up just a bit on this Thursday morning. It's about 56 degrees and cloudy in downtown Portland. In the news, a $907 million two-year budget for the State Highway Division is on its way to Governor Atiyeh for his signature. The legislature completed action on the budget last night. The Highway Division is financed mainly by gasoline and weight mile taxes, car registration fees, and federal aid. The budget is some $73 million larger than the governor had sought. That's primarily because more federal aid is available under a 5-cent per gallon gas tax increase passed by Congress. A Union Pacific Railroad spokesman says medical tests show that workers exposed to a toxic insecticide that leaked from barrels on a freight car were unharmed. A cleanup began yesterday at the Albina Rail Yard in Portland after 10 gallons of the insecticide leaked from 10 barrels on the freight car. Union Pacific spokesman George Scorney says 5 workers were exposed to the chemical, including 2 who got some on their boots and gloves. Scorney terms the spill minor. He says no insecticide got into any groundwater. He says Union Pacific believes the cargo was improperly loaded, causing the barrels to tip over and begin leaking. The 5-gallon barrels of so-called Monitor 4 were shipped by the Chevron Chemical Company. A $1.3 billion budget for the state's public colleges and universities is on its way to the state Senate. The budget was approved by the House yesterday. Representative Wayne Fabish of Hood River says the general fund portion of the budget is up some 15% from the current 2-year period. Still, the budget is $23 million less than was proposed by Governor Atiyeh. The budget calls for a freeze on student tuition. Fabish says Oregon tuition is higher than that charged in 10 other western states. If you buy wine in Oregon, you'll pay more for it if a bill passed by the Oregon House becomes law. The measure would raise wine taxes by 2 cents a gallon. It would also boost the tax on grapes used by winemakers by $15 a ton. The increases would raise more money for the State Table Wine Research Advisory Board, which the bill would rename simply the Wine Advisory Board. The tax increases would increase the cost of Oregon wine by about 14 cents a gallon because the grape tax boost equals about 12 cents a gallon. The present wine tax is 65 cents a gallon for wines of less than 14% alcohol and 75 cents per gallon for wines with more alcohol. That measure now goes to the Senate. Right after this short break, we'll have a weather update.
I'll show you why a professional likes Reynolds quality plastic wrap. For starters, it handles like a dream. Next, try this test at home. Reynolds plastic wrap and the leading brand. Reynolds holds its shape better, and that gives Reynolds its super tight cling. Try wrapping both halves of an onion. Set your timer for 5 minutes and see for yourself. For better cling, try Reynolds quality plastic wrap. The plastic wrap professionals use.
Satellite pictures overnight showed a large area of cloudiness approaching the Oregon coast. The clouds are associated with showers and a cooler air mass. Shower activity will increase throughout the day, and the snowfall level will be dropping somewhat as well. The storminess should be out of the western sections of the state by tomorrow morning, but showers and blustery wind will continue east of the Cascades. It will be nicer by the weekend. Currently in downtown Portland, it's 56 degrees under cloudy skies. The barometer holding steady at 30.00. Winds out of the southeast at 8 miles per hour, and the relative humidity 83%. Forecast then for north central and northeastern Oregon, increasing chance of showers this afternoon, scattered showers tonight. In the Cascades, the freezing level at 6,500 feet. Showers in the mountains today, showers tonight, decreasing tomorrow. In the southwestern part of the state, scattered showers, locally heavy at times, scattered showers tonight. Along the Oregon coast, showers occasionally heavy, then scattered showers tonight. In the Willamette Valley, showers today, occasionally heavy, scattered showers tonight. And for Portland, Vancouver, showers, occasionally heavy today, and scattered showers tonight. The overnight low about 52 degrees, the high today around 64, and tomorrow it should climb back up to 68. We will have more news and weather in just about an hour. Right now, stay tuned for more of the CBS Morning News.
Jack Ramsey uses his head during arguments with refs. The glare blinds him like sun on a mirror. Yeah. Jack Ramsey's clothes are so loud, fans have to cover their ears when he walks by. Now, you know it's going to be tough to roast Jack Ramsey, but we're going to give it everything we've got. So come join us June 24th and help the March of Dimes. Ramsey had better get on his knees like a sinner in church.
KOIN-TV, Portland, Vancouver.
There's an old expression I've heard years and years and years, and I guess today it's taken on new significance, and that is dying to get the story told.
The story this man wants telling concerns his employer and the reason he lost his job. But in order to tell the story, he committed suicide and made this videotape in the final moments as he overdosed under a massive ingestion of drugs. We're going to hear the story of that man this half hour in the CBS Morning News.
Also coming up in this half hour, we will show you a most unusual race. You walk, run, hop as far as you can in 6 days. That's the race. That's the mandate and the deadline. And Pat Collins will be along, too, with all the entertainment news. Now the top stories of the morning.
We are standing watch this morning, special West Coast edition, waiting to find out when the space shuttle is going to land tomorrow or Saturday and where. At the Kennedy Space Center or at Edwards Air Force Base in California. We understand the word is now out. Let's go to Houston and David Dow for the final word on the subject. David?
Good morning again, Bill. After a lot of deliberation, after a lot of weather checking, NASA has decided to go ahead and try to land the Challenger tomorrow morning at Kennedy Space Center in Florida as originally scheduled. The announcement came just minutes ago from the shuttle chief, General James Abrahamson.
We think that it's proper to, in fact, go ahead with the landing plan and the preparations for a landing at Kennedy tomorrow. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to definitely have a landing at Kennedy tomorrow, and this plays into, you know, the weather is touchy. I hope that it's not going to be a fickle mistress for us here and kind of give us some good news and then go bad on us.
If the weather turns bad at Kennedy Space Center, and after the 2 orbits on which the Challenger could land there still is not the kind of weather that would support a landing, the shuttle could go to Edwards Air Force Base in California, where the weather has been running generally good. One of the things that militated in favor of the decision to get the shuttle down tomorrow is a nagging problem with an auxiliary power unit, one of the units that affects the hydraulic system. There are backups on the shuttle for each of these systems, but they're tinkering with it today and decided that if in doubt, try to get back early. Bill?
Thank you, David Dow. Well, tomorrow's the day, then. The meeting between Pope John Paul and Lech Wałęsa is presumably taking place today in a mountain resort south of Krakow. The Pope arrived there by helicopter on his last day of the tour of Poland. John Paul met unexpectedly last night with General Wojciech Jaruzelski, the Polish leader. A government spokesman says Jaruzelski rejected the Pope's plea for a new dialogue with solidarity. The Pope has irritated the government throughout his visit. Still, Poland's chargé d'affaires in Washington spoke optimistically about the Pope's visit on the CBS News broadcast Night Watch.
It is our hope that the visit of a Pope will contribute to the reconciliation of the nation and also to the improvement of the environment around Poland, by which at the same time will contribute to the lifting of martial law.
Vice President Bush is on the road this morning, flying first to England, then 7 other northern European countries. Bush says European voters have now shown that they are behind President Reagan's plans to put new missiles there aimed at the Soviet Union. Asked if he plans to meet with leaders of the peace movement, he said, "We are not buying into that kind of trouble." The Supreme Court barred Congress today from using the legislative veto to set aside presidential orders and government agency regulations. The decision represents a significant shift of power from Congress to the presidency. It means that Congress will have to scrap parts of more than 200 laws. The bodies of 7 dead miners have been carried off after Tuesday's mine explosion in Virginia. One victim was only 3 days from retirement. Another is believed to have been the first woman miner to die in an accident in Virginia. But as Ike Pappas reports, there's still a lot of officials don't know.
The explosion occurred during the so-called hoot owl night shift at the Critchfield mine deep in the Appalachian Mountains of southwestern Virginia. Federal mine inspectors who went in yesterday afternoon indicated methane gas caused the explosion, but what sparked the gas has yet to be determined.
The force of the explosion is not as bad as some that I've seen, but they're certainly bad in near the explosion area.
We hear that it's methane.
Maybe. Could very well be.
Company officials say they have had problems with accumulations of methane gas, but the mine was inspected daily and was safe.
We think we run good times as long as you're operating coal mines. These things will happen. They're a high-risk occupation.
Late in the day, Rich Trumka, the new president of the United Mine Workers Union, arrived at the mine to make his own inspection. In the past, Trumka has been critical of the Reagan administration for not strictly enforcing mine safety rules, but there is no indication yet that compromised safety regulations contributed to the Critchfield blast. The Clinchfield mine has been closed, and because of the normal summer vacation period, will not open until the second week of July. By that time, say company officials, they'll probably know what caused the blast. Ike Pappas, CBS News, McClure, Virginia.
We'll be right back. More news in a moment.
Next, Ken Pruitt with a report on a possible rise in interest rates. The time now 7:36. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Nature Valley Granola Bars.
It's sweet, it's natural.
It's chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip granola clusters. Granola's answer to chocolate candy.
Sweet and natural.
Nature Valley takes chewy nougat, creamy caramel, toasty granola, and adds rich chocolate chips.
Sweet and natural.
No additives, no preservatives. It's chewy.
It's chocolate.
Chocolate chip granola clusters.
Sweet and natural.
100% natural. The Nature Valley way.
Come on in, take a seat. We're gonna tell you what the big boys eat. Name is Wheaties Crunchy Wheat. Now you know what the big boys eat. Hello, milk, come on in. Jump in, berry, have a swim. Wheaties, Wheaties Crunchy Wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boys eat.
Part of your good breakfast.
The time now 37 minutes past the hour.
And if you're just getting up this morning, waiting for the business report, this is the time, and Ken Pruitt is the man.
This is it. Good morning. 1250 on the Dow Jones Industrial Average is turning out to be pretty sticky. Yesterday, for the second day in a row, the Dow Industrial Average turned down in the final few minutes of trading and failed to break last Thursday's record high. The Dow dropped nearly 2 points, falling below 1246. The NYSE Composite Index and the Standard & Poor's 500 did set new records. In a narrow advance, the number of stocks that went up was not much higher than the number that went down. There's a lot of confusion over the direction of interest rates. At yesterday's Treasury auction, 7-year notes hit 10.8%, the highest level since last fall. Short-term interest rates have been edging higher lately, and analysts are divided on whether it's because of technical factors or whether the Federal Reserve is moving to tighten credit in an effort to bring the money supply down. The dollar's up slightly this morning. Gold in London at $418.50 an ounce. That's down $1.80 from yesterday's close in New York. The Federal Reserve Board has cleared the way for the biggest interstate bank merger in history, approving Bank of America's bid to acquire the ailing Seafirst Bank of Seattle. Several months ago, Seafirst ran into big trouble because of $400 million in bad energy loan participations with Penn Square Bank of Oklahoma. Penn Square went under. Chemical Bank of New York has asked a court in the state of Washington to lift a restraining order in the Washington Public Power Supply case. If successful, Chemical could force the utilities in the system, known as whoops on Wall Street and now with some meaning, into default. If that happens, it would be the biggest municipal bond default in history. Whoops owes $2.25 billion. Diane?
Thank you, Ken. And if you've been getting up this morning just waiting for the weather, you've happened on a stroke of luck, too, because Steve Deschler is standing by.
incredible, the coincidence here. Steve's my name, weather's my game. Here's a look, first of all, at the national forecast map for today. Plenty of sunshine for the eastern states, and once again, hot summertime weather. Thunderstorms for the southeast, as you just heard. The landing has been rescheduled to Saturday at the Cape because of thunderstorms possible there. 92 New York City, 97 at Boston. Mainly sunshine for the plains, thunder showers in the Rockies, and showers Pacific Northwest. Here's a layout of general daytime highs nationwide. 90s will occur today. From the Great Lakes all across the Southwest, there will be some patches of 100s in the Southwest and 80s almost everywhere else across the east, the northern plains and Rockies, but there will be 70s and some 60s in the Pacific Northwest and upper Great Lakes. Now, overnight lows, much the same pattern will hold. There will be some 40s northern Rockies and sections of the upper Midwest. There will be a small patch of 30s, though, for this time of the year, very chilly, across Oregon into northwestern Nevada, otherwise 50s in the Rockies and sections of California, 40s northern Great Lakes and 50s far northeast, 60s northern plains all the way back to the southwest and the mid-Atlantic states, and 70s for the deep south and also for parts of the southwest. Now here's a look at some weather and temperature forecasts for some locations around the country.
Weather for Portland, Vancouver. Showers occasionally heavy today. Scattered showers tonight. Showers ending tomorrow morning with afternoon clearing. Highs in the mid-60s today, in the upper 60s tomorrow. Lows at night in the low 50s.
We'll have more about the regional forecast picture in our next half hour.
Thank you, Steve. And a disturbing story next. A man who lost his job and took his life.
Time now, 19 minutes before the hour. On this date in 1967, Lyndon Johnson met Alexei Kosygin at Glassboro, New Jersey. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Changing Times, the money-making, money-saving Kiplinger magazine.
Get a pencil now so you can write for 99 New Ideas, the look-ahead big book that's jammed full of amazing money-saving ideas. You can't buy it anywhere. It's yours free as a subscriber to world-famous Changing Times magazine. It could mean hundreds of extra dollars to you personally because it answers questions like, where's the best place to invest your extra cash? The answer will astonish you. What's the word on credit cards, health, medicine, low-cost mortgages, budget vacations? Straightforward, authoritative answers in 99 New Ideas. You can get it free only by trying Changing Times magazine for 6 months. Helps you make and save big money day after day with answers to should you buy now or will prices go down? How can you get more at the hardware store, the discount outlet for a lot less money? Is it better to buy or rent your home? Should you be in a money market fund now? Hundreds of questions answered in every issue. By taking Changing Times for 6 months, you get free this big book, 99 New Ideas. Regular annual subscription is $15, but as a new subscriber, you get both 99 New Ideas and 6 months of Changing Times for only $5. When you send your $5 today, you'll also get free You and Your Taxes, how to keep more of what you earn, more than 100 ways to cut your taxes. It points out as you go along little-known, easy-to-figure deductions. Remember, tax savings these days is a year-round job. This book alone could save you many times the $5, and it's yours free when you send your check today. Money-back guarantee. Send $5 to Changing Times, TV 554, Washington, D.C. Remember, the regular annual subscription to Changing Times alone is $15, but you get all this for only $5 when you send your check today. 99 New Ideas, plus this income tax report, plus 6 full months of Changing Times. If you're not completely satisfied, keep these 2 books and your first issue of Changing Times, and we'll refund your money gladly. How can you lose? So send $5 to Changing Times, TV 554, Washington, D.C. 20006.
This spring, Skip Lizer rented a hotel room in Austin, Texas, and videotaped a message to speak for him when his own voice was stilled.
My actions tonight are not actions of desperation or despair, though I guess there's a certain degree of that in it. They're more one of a crying out. There's an old expression I've heard years and years and years, and I guess today it's taken on new significance, and that is dying to get the story told.
Skip Lizer had either taken an overdose of drugs before his taping or shortly afterward. In any event, 2 days later, he was found dead in the room by a maid. Mr. Lizer was a manager at Wilco Incorporated, a firm that put out local phone directories. He blew the whistle to the federal government on some alleged improprieties by executives of the parent company, Centel Corporation of Chicago, and to his deep sorrow, he then was fired. Joanne Schmitz was Lauser's fiancée. Broadus Spivey and Paul Knisley are lawyers representing Mr. Lauser's estate in two actions resulting from his death. And Joanne, we want to ask you first, why do you think he turned to the videotape?
Oh, precisely because of the remark that he made. He was dying to get the story told, and I think that he felt this tape would be shown after his death, and that it would bring out the things that he had been trying to bring out.
Let's try and reconstruct exactly what happened by looking at some more of the videotape. This portion that we will see seems to indicate a conflict over values. Let's look again.
There's a question here that I don't understand. Where do your loyalties lie? Do they lie to the company that pays you? Do they lie with the supervisors that make it possible for you to grow and prosper? Do they lie with the people that do the work? Do they lie with yourself?
Yet he did make a decision. He went to the FCC, blowing the whistle. Someone at the FCC, an investigator, said, "We will guarantee you confidentiality," but did not. Called the company, gave his name. Then what did the company do? And said, "I'm calling because Skip Lauser told me of some alleged improprieties." What did the company do?
Well, they immediately called him to corporate headquarters in Chicago and said that they had been told this by the FCC, and they requested his resignation.
Mr. Spivey, Centel denies any wiretapping, any improprieties at all. Do you have any further evidence?
We have some evidence, most of which will have to be developed during depositions, but probably the thing most intriguing to us is when the medical examiner called Mr. Knisley and I to tell us of Skip's death and to ask us some questions. I got some information wrong from him because it came as a shock, but I knew that I had to call Miss Schmitz. I called her, gave her the information in a matter of minutes. I got a call from a Waco, I believe it was, television station, telling us of information they had received. Interestingly, they had received the same information, misinformation that I had related to Mrs. Schmitz.
So you do have enough evidence to continue to pursue the matter, Mr. Knisley?
Well, we certainly do intend to pursue our action that we have filed against the corporations and also the claim that we have filed against the FCC. Those matters will be developed in litigation, and we'll have to wait and see the results at that time.
Well, let's go back to the videotape, because in addition to a rather technical allegation here and two suits, there is a personal, very dramatic story. He felt obviously powerless and alone. Let's listen.
Something's wrong when the people that are trying to do an honest job aren't allowed to do that job, and yet are threatened when they do their job well. Who's to fight for the little guy? I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Was he in a proper state of mind then, and possibly under the influence of drugs?
I think he had taken some medication. I don't have any proof of this. I think that he probably had, but I think, yes, I think he planned this very carefully.
But definitely these were statements that you had heard from him before?
Mm-hmm.
Had your relationship changed at all with him?
Oh, definitely, yes. It's very hard to live with a depressed person, and he was depressed the last 7 months.
How did he regard his relationship with the company?
With the Wilco directory, with the people that he worked with, these people were his family, virtually family. He was extremely close to them. He was very frustrated in his efforts to grow and to expand the Wilco directory. So I think that his basic feeling, you know, with the corporation itself was frustration.
And Mr. Knisley, did he change after being fired?
I think he certainly must have changed. He was depressed, as Ms. Schmitz has said, and wanted to take some action to have his story told and to pursue his claims and to seek vindication.
Let's look at the final words of that story on the videotape to wrap this up.
Please tell the people I worked with how great they were. I love them all very much. Some of the happiest days of my life were in directory. And I thank them. Thank you.
Then he turned off the videotape, and committed suicide. Could anything have been done, all of you, to prevent this?
Hard question. I can't think of anything short of someone simply going with him and not ever letting him out of their side.
I think if his tremendous anxiety had some legitimate method of relief, he might have been, we might have been able to avoid it. But he was frustrated even with the delay in the legal process.
Was it just because he was so wrapped up in the company and so traumatized by being fired?
I think that's an accurate statement, and he was unable to deal with it.
We thank you all for coming. We do want to point out that we invited representatives from Centel Corporation. They declined. They said a statement which denied all improprieties speaks for itself. It's an extremely interesting and touching case. Thank you for sharing it with us. We'll continue in a moment.
John Hausman for the investment firm of Smith Barney.
Inflation, taxation, recession, aggression. Is the world going to end tomorrow? Probably not. Smith Barney has counseled its clients skillfully through 5 wars, 26 recessions, and 23 changes in the Oval Office. Smith Barney. They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
Mrs. Paul's asked people how we could improve fish fillets.
Use a larger piece of fish.
Less breading. Fewer calories.
Introducing Mrs. Paul's lighted natural fish fillets. They're twice as thick as ordinary fillets and have 40% less breading. They're under 300 calories and they're microwavable. They're everything you've ever wanted in a fish fillet.
You could give them away.
Well, almost everything. New lighted natural fish fillets from Mrs. Paul's.
The time now, 9 minutes before the hour.
This is a time of high-pressure sports events, Wimbledon tennis, a great summer baseball. If all that's too intense for you, however, there's also the 4th annual Edward Pace and Weston 6-day track race in Pennsauken, New Jersey, part competition, part happening. Anthony Mason of WCAU-TV shows us a race with a measured tread.
You do not enter lightly into the quest for the Weston Cup. You pitch a tent, plan your wardrobe, and clear your head for the race ahead.
Runner set, go!
Then, heart and soul, you dash off. Not for 6 miles or 6 hours, but for 6 days.
Seems dustier than last year.
Robert Wise has never run a multi-day race in his life, but he came from Atlanta to try this year. 48-year-old Bev Nolan, Burlington, Massachusetts, is running her 3rd 6-day race.
It's really like having a long 6-day vacation with a lot of friends.
And Malcolm Campbell is here, the merry long-distance ambassador from the British Isles.
It's certainly the most enjoyable 6-day race, I think. What makes it so enjoyable? Well, I think it's the atmosphere. Everyone's so helpful. And
the bathroom tent is that double sidewall tent right across.
For 144 hours, the athletes are free to run, walk, rest, sleep, or eat, as they choose. Saturday at noon, the one who has logged the most miles in 6 days wins a trophy. Anthony Mason for CBS News, Pennsauken, New Jersey.
Some of those people don't look in any better shape than I am. I think that's my kind of race. We'll be back with the entertainment news in a moment.
Time now, 7 minutes before the hour. Coming up in the next hour, the glut of doctors, Rod Serling's widow Carol, and some giant-sized marionettes.
Look what we've done with Ramada.
There's never been a better time to discover Ramada's new world. Because right now, 4 can stay for the price of 1. Up to 4 can share a room at single rates. All you need is our 4-for-1 coupon. Pick one up at any of our nearly 500 participating Ramadas.
You love the price. Look what we've done with Ramada. Ramada, we've got a new world for you.
If you have to wait a week for business news, maybe it's not news anymore. The Wall Street Journal gives you today's business news today, so you can use it today.
Get all the business news you need when you need it. Get the Wall Street Journal, delivered every business day for 6 months for $47, just 37 cents a day. Phone toll-free 800-228-2210. That's 6 months, $47, only 37 cents a day. Phone 800-228-2210 now.
Oh, my cooked ham has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R. And it also has a last name, M-A-Y-E-R. With a taste like this, it has to be my favorite cold cut specialty. 'Cause its middle name is plain to see, 95% fat-free.
Oscar Mayer cooked ham, 95% fat-free, 100% delicious. Ever wonder what Oscar Mayer has in store for you?
Mommy, look! Herbs and spices. Love the flavor.
Well, then you're going to love my new salad dressing.
New?
New improved Good Seasons Italian with even more herbs and spices. Now you can really taste the blend of onion, garlic, sweet bell pepper.
All the herbs and spices, even better than before.
Good Seasons. New improved Italian. Now more than ever, a little Good Seasons has a lot more taste.
Try new classic herb, too.
Time now, 5 minutes before the hour, and here's the weather forecast.
Weather for Portland, Vancouver. Showers occasionally heavy today. Scattered showers tonight. Showers ending tomorrow morning with afternoon clearing. Highs in the mid-60s today, in the upper 60s tomorrow. Lows at night in the low 50s.
Farrah Fawcett and the stage version of a naughty French movie, all in Pat Collins' entertainment news this morning.
Bill, as you might remember, we talked to Farrah Fawcett on Monday about her role off Broadway in the play Extremities. During Tuesday night's performance, things didn't go exactly according to the script.
What is going on here?
This is one of Farrah's real lines in the play, but it might very well have been what she was asking herself after a man approached the stage holding what appeared to be a lead pipe. He yelled, "I've been looking for you, and why haven't you answered my letters?" The man was removed from the theater. The pipe turned out to be a rolled-up Brooke Shields poster, and although she was shaken, Farrah, like a total pro, finished the performance after a short delay. In Boston, the musical being hailed as the next big Broadway hit opened to rave reviews earlier this week.
You have arrived at La Cage of Fur. We are what we are, and what we are is an illusion. We love how it feels, putting on heels, causing confusion.
La Cage aux Folles is a musical comedy about two aging homosexuals living on the French Riviera. It was co-written by Harvey Fierstein, author of Tony winner Torch Song Trilogy. The score was written by Jerry Bach, who composed Hello, Dolly, and others. It stars Gene Barry and George Hearn and runs through mid-July in Boston and then on to Broadway. And when last we saw Sandy Duncan, she was flying on Broadway as Peter Pan. This summer, her feet are firmly on the ground. She's starring in the musical review 5, 6, 7, 8 Dance, now playing at New York's Radio City Music Hall. Sandy sings and dances with the Rockettes and shares the stage with her husband, Don Correa. And it's lots of fun.
Looks like fun.
Thank you, Pat. You'll be back in our coming half hour.
Mrs. Rod Serling.
Twilight
That's right.
Zone.
Yes,
Twilight
and the
Zone.
Twilight Zone.
And still ahead in this next hour of the CBS Morning News, the coming doctor glut and what it means for each of us individually. A possible shift in government controls over cable TV, what that means to you. And Jack Kelly, brother of the late Princess Grace, shows us his latest achievement on the wave, the Great Dragon Race in Hong Kong.
And we will show you some of the biggest puppets you have ever seen. They're giant, about 4 feet tall.
Astonishing.
We'll be back.
Charles Kuralt is on the road again. Each week, he gets to the heart of America, discovering the true spirit and strength of this country's people. Then Bill Moyers looks at our times, a sometimes surprising, always revealing view of people facing the changes and challenges of the 80s. Kuralt and Moyers, back-to-back, Sunday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain. This is CBS.
I read Bi-Mart ads because Bi-Mart saves me money. Look at this 8-page ad. These Lee oil filters are just 97 cents with the rebate. The Lee Import 2-stage Maxi oil filters just $1.97 with the rebate. Save $2. And a carton of Remington 22 ammo, $7.87 with the rebate. Oh, and just in time for summer, Bi-Mart has this Keller Sport Chair on sale for just $6.33.
Why pay more at another store?
Shop Bi-Mart and save money today. Sale ends soon. Hello, I'm Bob Brown. The ship's in, and we have plenty of new Subarus to offer at special boatload sale prices, like this new 83 Subaru hatchback for only $127.38 per month. Bob Brown's Subaru continues to hold the competitive edge in selection, satisfaction, and price. Choose from four-wheel drives, wagons, sedans, hatchbacks, the full line. Choose any color as long as it's a brown Subaru at Bob Brown Old Subaru, east end of the Morrison Bridge on Grand Avenue.
We got crab legs, sea galley, we got shrimp, and a whole lot more. We got steak, we got steak, we got steak, top sirloin, we got steak, giant steak, Neptune, and prime rib, the seafood for just a little more. Only a little bit more.
Now isn't that a good idea?
So come to Sea Galley tonight.
KOIN TV, Portland, Vancouver.
It's a scene you might have witnessed in the 4th century BC, dragon boats racing in the waters near Hong Kong. But this year, an upstart nation decided to enter the United States. And we'll hear how the country fared in the half hour. And don't you give it away.
Oh, I was just going to say, Jack Kelly said we came in second. You notice there were only 2 boats in that race. We've been hearing for years that we need more doctors, that it is so hard to get out of medical school that house calls aren't made anymore. Now we're told that by the year 2000, there will be 666,000 doctors, and some people are calling it a glut. Dr. Holly Atkinson explains coming up. We'll also talk cable TV as well. First, the news.
NASA officials have decided to attempt a landing of the Space Shuttle Challenger tomorrow morning at Kennedy Space Center, and David Dow is standing by in Houston with more. David?
Good morning, Diane. Improving weather in Florida and a troublesome part on the shuttle caused NASA officials this morning to go ahead and try to bring Challenger in tomorrow morning, as scheduled, at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The troublesome part is an auxiliary power unit, a so-called APU, which is involved in controlling the shuttle. There are 2 backups aboard Challenger, each of which could very readily handle the Challenger, but officials wanted to play it safe. There are 2 opportunities to land at the Kennedy Space Center on the 96th and 97th orbits of the flight, this 6-day flight. If the weather doesn't allow a landing in Florida, officials say that Challenger will land a little later at Edwards Air Force Base in California.
Now, because of the APU situation, we've decided that the prudent thing to do is to go, if we can't make it on the first 2 tries at Kennedy, would be to go to Edwards and land on the 97th Rev.
If the weather allows it, this would be the first ever landing at the Kennedy Spaceport, which was built expressly for the shuttle and to support future shuttle operations. And officials emphasize that the weather looks like the landing will go ahead in Florida tomorrow as scheduled. Diane?
Thank you. Thank you very much. David Dow reporting from Houston. Pope John Paul has landed in a ski resort in the Tatra Mountains south of Krakow. He may be going to meet with Lech Wałęsa. That's what everyone is assuming, although no official announcements have yet been made. Before leaving, he once again brought his message to the people of Krakow and to the military ruler of Poland. And Bruce Morton has that story.
The Pope went traveling his last morning in Poland, leaving the residence where he'd spent the night a little before 11 a.m. local time. The crowd outside had been waiting for hours and burst into cheers when they saw him. There were occasional solidarity banners and signs, but this crowd was pro-Pope, not anti-anything. John Paul was bound for Zakopane, a resort town in the Tatra Mountains some 60 miles south of here. Today is full of questions. When will the Pope see Lech Wałęsa? The spokesman says that hasn't happened yet.
What did the Pope and Poland's chief of state, General Jaruzelski, talk about when they met last night? The government statement says hope was expressed that the visit would lead to the peaceful and favorable development of social life in Poland. Diplomatese, which could mean almost anything.
For the people here, though, this morning was simple. A chance to say goodbye in troubled times to a Pole they admire and love. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Krakow, Poland.
And indeed, the pictures you're seeing now are live pictures of the Pope in Krakow. He has returned from the mountain retreat. Still no word on the meeting that took place there and whether he had a meeting with Lech Wałęsa. The Pope is reviewing the troops in preparation for his departure. From Poland, he will return to the Vatican after a turbulent and passionate and unforgettable trip to his native country, Poland. The House and the Senate will take up the compromise 1984 budget resolution today. The House is expected to approve it, and House Democrats are also expected to push through a limit on the July 1st tax cut. President Reagan is adamantly opposed to both measures. As Jacqueline Adams reports, the main byproduct so far of the latest budget battle between White House and Congress is a lot of talk.
Ronald Reagan is in for a rough day on Capitol Hill. Both the House and Senate plan to take up the 1984 budget compromise that the president vigorously opposes. And the House today will also take up the $700 cap on the third year of Mr. Reagan's tax cut. Rhetoric, both for and against the cap, yesterday shifted into high gear.
But it takes a greater leap of faith to trust the motivation and wisdom of the self-proclaimed champions of fairness who are now attacking the middle class. And make no mistake, capping the third year would raise taxes on millions of two-earner couples earning less than $50,000.
He was completely wrong. He took figures of people earning about $35,000, and how in conscience he could make the statements that he made is unbelievable. Only 2% of the people in that bracket are affected, and they're affected to the extent of 80 cents a week.
Although House Republicans say not a single member plans to vote for the tax cap, House Democrats are sure they have enough votes for passage. Whether or not the cap finally becomes law, House Democratic freshmen in particular believe they have taken the right step toward both reducing the deficit and toward reining in the, quote, massive tax giveaway to the wealthy. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News on Capitol Hill.
The Supreme Court has stripped Congress of a key device used to review and thwart presidential orders and executive agency rules. It ruled that the legislative veto is unconstitutional, saying the Founding Fathers never meant for Congress to have that much power. Today's decision has nothing to do with Congress's power to override a presidential veto, but it represents a major loss of authority to the executive branch. 32 hostages are free this morning. 2 hijackers are in custody after an airliner traveling from Greece to Libya was diverted to Cyprus. First, the Sky Pirates forced the plane to land in Rome for refueling. Then they attempted to fly to Beirut, where government officials prevented them from landing. Low on fuel, the plane finally touched down in Cyprus, and the air pirates surrendered. They are reportedly members of the Shiite Muslim group who claim their leader was murdered or imprisoned in Libya. Next, who should make the rules for cable TV and why it matters to you?
The time now on this special West Coast edition of the CBS Morning News is 7 minutes past 8 o'clock. And we'll continue in 1 minute with Steve Deschler's latest weather report.
The BMW 318i and the Honda Accord have a great deal in common. Look at the similar design. Check the comfort similarities. In maneuverability and handling, both are rated excellent. And both have incredible resale value. It's not till we get to the price that the similarity ends. The 4-door Honda Accord. The BMW 318, ay, ay, ay! See the new Accord at one of these 6 key Honda dealers.
Discover an island of excitement. Discover Portland's Jansen Beach Thunderbird. There's a new look, a new menu. At Misty's Lounge, new live entertainment. Next door, discover the Red Lion, acclaimed for elegance and lively nightlife. Across the river, the Thunderbird at the Key, famous for seafood. Yes, discover all this and something more. Boyd's new espresso coffee at all 3 locations. Come taste the excitement.
The time now, 8 minutes past the hour.
Well, let's take another run at Steve, practicing during this last half hour.
Another run at Steve. I bring in my blocking stance here and take the blow. Here's a look at the forecast map for today. It promises a pretty swell day nationwide. Let's look at it in detail, first of all, for the eastern states. The forecast for today, mainly sunshine and hot summertime weather. A high of 97 degrees at places like Boston, 92 degrees as far north as New York City, 95 Caribou, Maine, and 89 degrees Philadelphia, 85 at Pittsburgh. Now, in the south today, there will be some sunshine and fairly warm air, 89 and 90 degree temperatures Thunderstorms in parts of the central south and also for the western areas of Florida. Otherwise, partly sunny skies in the south. 87 Richmond, 88 degrees Miami, 91 Little Rock, 91 degrees Dallas-Fort Worth, 97 Del Rio. Midwestern states today, a good dose of sunshine as well. A cool front, though, will slide across the area from northwest to southeast. Sunny to partly sunny skies and temperatures in the 80s and some 90s. 87 degrees for Chicago, 90 Columbus, 91 degrees St. Louis, 93 for Pierce, South Dakota, 73 for Sault Ste. Marie, by contrast. In the western states, there will be a lot of clouds and some showers and a couple of thunderstorms in the Rockies. Sunshine for the southwest. Temperatures over 100 in the southwest. Las Vegas at 100, 75 at San Diego, 105 at Phoenix, 78 degrees Cheyenne, 66 Portland, 64 for Seattle. Now here's a look at some weather and temperature forecasts for some locations around the country.
Weather for Portland, Vancouver. Showers occasionally heavy today. Scattered showers tonight. Showers ending tomorrow morning with afternoon clearing. Highs in the mid-60s today, in the upper 60s tomorrow. Lows at night in the low 50s.
More about tomorrow's weather and a possible shuttle landing on Saturday in our next half hour.
Thank you, Steve. Would it be better or worse for you if your local government lost control over cable TV? The cable TV industry is happy because the U.S. Senate has passed a bill setting federal standards and loosening a patchwork of state and local regulations. But state and local officials say these regulations serve the public interest. The chairman of the New York State Commission on Cable Television, William Finneran, is here this morning to give us his perspective on the situation. Mr. Finneran, good to have you here. To start out, I'm a cable TV viewer and I know nothing about the intricacies of cable economics. Tell me why a local government should have control, and more control than the Senate bill provides, over the cable industry.
Well, the Senate bill is a disaster, not for cities or villages, but for the people. What it does is three things. One, total deregulation of rates. In other words, the cable companies can charge subscribers anything they want. But the second provision is automatic renewal of franchises. In other words, you are granting essentially a franchise to a cable company in perpetuity, forever. You have to find a felony offense against the cable operator almost to get rid of the franchise. And the key thing is the justification for the bill itself is totally based on two fallacious assumptions. One is that there's been abuse at the local level in terms of renewal. And such is just not the case. Here in New York, for example, out of 325 over the last decade renewals of franchises, 325 have been granted. But they're not rubber stamped. What essentially happens, the local government uses that to leverage, to say to the local cable operator, look, we have a 12-channel system. We want an upgrade to it, not an antiquated system, but one with 24 or 36 channels. We want additional services. It's been used very responsibly by local government.
Let me take your first two propositions first. Namely, you say that you need rate control and you need quality control, essentially. Can't the public be the judge? The public presumably wouldn't buy into cable channels that they didn't like the services of, or if the costs were too high.
Well, that's easier said than done in one sense. You see, what happens if you look at neighborhoods where there's heavy cable penetration, there's one phenomenon. Look around, and all of those rooftop antennas that used to be there are slowly evaporating. And so the reliance on a single wire coming into a family's home, to be that family's almost sole interface with the whole universe of entertainment and information, is awesome. So the bill, in effect, because of that perpetuity, the ongoing nature of the franchise, the inability ever to exercise local leverage to upgrade an antiquated system, to be responsive to consumers. It is a service business. That's the one point that's really is missed. It is essentially a service business.
But what about the cable industry's argument that they need some sort of certainty, and there is this melange of regulations which prevent them from calculating what their expenses really are going to be?
You know, the fact is, it's an exciting industry, and but what other industry in the United States can claim, as the FCC just released statistics, in 1 year, a 60% jump in revenues, a doubling of assets since 1980, and by the year 1990, this is going to be a $15 to $20 billion business, and by the turn of the century, it might well rival AT&T. There is no business that is growing by leaps and bounds as the cable industry, which shows that local oversight has not been an inhibiting factor.
Mr. Finneran, thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. I hope the people will write their congressman about the bill.
We will be back with more in a moment.
Coming right up, Holly Atkinson on the glut of new doctors. The time now exactly 14 minutes past the hour.
Flawless perfection, an American beauty. Friday Olds is celebrating the Rose Festival with a special 8.8% sale on our own American beauties. For example, you can buy a brand new Olds Omega for only $189 down and $194 per month, or a fully equipped, beautiful Cutlass Sierra for as low as $97.77. Really, right now is the absolute best time to buy a brand new Oldsmobile. Sale ends June 30th, so hurry to Friday Olds.
Why do more flyers in the West agree on United?
For quick getaways, you couldn't beat Mahapalooza.
My white stallion cactus cutter.
Nowadays, our favorite way around the West is United.
The reason's United's new 737 coach service. More comfortable seating, easier on the backside.
Hold it there, Paleface. The best reason's United business class. First class comfort at a great low fare.
Classy reasons, aren't ours?
That mean I'm your favorite Indian?
Nope, Tonto was.
Oh.
We've got the West United. Fly the friendly skies.
If you have pigmentation brown spots like these,
I hate them.
This is Porcelana Fade Cream.
I used a fade cream for a while, but I stopped using it because I really didn't think it was working. Then my sister told me, Helen, get Porcelana and keep using it. It does work.
Porcelana works gradually, but it does work.
My spots are much less noticeable now. Porcelana does work if you stick with it.
Porcelana, and now Porcelana with sunscreen to help keep the sun from darkening the brown spots Porcelana's trying to lighten.
Celebrate the 4th on the 3rd with KOIN TV, the Portland Beavers, and Fred Meyer. Bring the family and come early because the players will be on hand to autograph a new team photo from 5 to 5:45 p.m. Later, the skies above Civic Stadium will explode with a spectacular fireworks display, dollars off coupons at Fred Meyer, and 30% of the gate helps the March of Dimes. So join KOIN TV for an all-American blast. Baseball and fireworks at Civic Stadium.